everyone? It's your boy Daryl from Gifted Music, back with another Gifted Music video. And in this video, I'm here with my guy,
KAYY MACK.
Alright, so y'all already know how we gotta get this shit going. So give us a touch on like where you from and shit. Shit, and how was it growing up in the Ville and shit?
Fucked up.
And what's some of the things that made it fucked up or rough and shit like that coming out?
Yo. I mean, shit for me, growing up in the hood around negativity, violence. I see me get fucked up.
Nah, that's a fact. So like growing up in the Ville and shit like that, like explain your childhood and shit. Did you have like a regular childhood or was it wacky from the beginning and shit like that?
I had a wacky childhood.
So like when did trouble and shit start happening shit? Like around like what age, what school year and shit like that? When did shit started getting wacky and shit?
At 8.
Damn, at 8?
8, 9 years old, that was the first time I saw somebody get shot from me.
Damn.
10, 11 years old, 12. That's easy.
Nah, that's a fact.
2020.
Ah, damn, I know like 12, 13, 14, but 8 seeing a nigga get shot or some shit, nah, that shit is definitely fucking different. Nah, that's a fact. Shit, it's shit like that just be OD traumatizing and shit like that. So for like the people that don't know and shit, find out your age for the people. Okay.
I'm 19 right now, I'm about to turn 20 shit.
Okay. And what was the age and shit that you got in like into the streets and shit and like you got into shit?
11, 12.
Damn. So like you really been out here for a fucking minute and shit like that. So like what's some ways or some shit like from a young age and shit like that before the music and shit, like did you have to move different and shit like that from a young age?
I'm cute like this, you know. I was like 12, 13. I feel like it was deep, but not as crazy. Like it's crazy. Like, everybody's against it. Not everybody don't want to learn. Like, even to the older homies, to us. From like 12, 13, it wasn't too crazy. It was deep, and then you would see niggas. Now it's like, up now, for me, like, it was nothing to play with now, for me, bro. Like, you can't travel, take transportation over there, none of that.
Nah, that's a fact. Even if you're not in the streets and shit, you gotta move tight. Like, you gotta make sure that this shit is just spooky right now. I ain't even gonna lie, I'm about to talk real shit, like, it's not a game over there. Back then, that shit was sweet, like, these niggas coming outside right now, niggas not even know what's going on, bro. Yeah, it really loving it, like, to me, back then, 2013, niggas, that shit was sweet. I mean, it was lit, but it was for niggas that was really outside at that time, like, for me, bro, like, it wasn't really lit. Like, it was BG's, for me, we really wasn't really into that shit, like, you know, we was really into that shit, but, I mean, bro, like, there's a lot to this shit, bro. Because I wanted to ask you about that shit too, because like in Brooklyn, another crazy era was the 2010 era and shit like that. The 2010 era, that's when the big ass indictments happened, the big gang beat.
Yeah, like niggas that really was out here, like, for me, I don't really have to talk a lot, you feel me? They know, like, for me, they know who was outside, who was going on around the time, you feel me, bro? So, nigga, I was a little kid at that time, just coming outside, like, you feel me?
And what, comparing both eras and shit like that, like, what was the difference between both eras? Because this is a crazy ass fucking era that we in, the 2010 era, the 2020 era and shit versus the 2010 era. So like, what's the difference in the eras? Is it like the same or like, I don't know, because 2010 was fucking crazy, no cap.
Yeah.
So like, what's the difference in the eras for you?
I feel like, so growing up around that time, I can't really say it or experience that ever, cause I was so limited of it, really recognizing what was going on. But now I feel like, to me, I feel like this is crazy. People outside every day, because you gotta pray to God, you know,
to make it home.
Make it home.
And
from that day you step out of that door, you risking your life.
Nah, no cap. I ain't even going front. And what's different from now versus then, you could then get hit 12, 11, 1, 2, 3 p.m. Like, it don't matter what time it is and shit like that. So, shit is just nasty. And from like you being in the streets and like your experience, what would you say would be like the hardest experience that you faced being in the streets at your age?
Growing up, having to get it on your own. You depend on your feelings. You get a certain age, you in the neighborhood, you in the environment, bro, you don't want to start doing stuff and stuff. There's a lot to that shit, bro. You don't always have to be a street nigga, none of that.
Nah, that's a fact.
You don't always have to live a street life, none of that shit. A lot of niggas in the streets like high school diploma.
Nah, gangster.
All that, bro. So ain't no wrong with me going to school. Nah, I want to get that education.
Nah, real shit.
Ain't no wrong with that. So like, always keep in mind positive.
Nah, that's real shit.
I mean, like, that's how I'm trying to feel all the time. Positive, all the time. Positive. Okay. I'm not trying to go off topic. For me, that's
okay. And as far as like with the streets, a lot comes from it and shit like that. And with your age being at 20, a lot comes with it in the sense of like jail and death, from like death of homies and shit like that. So had you had any of those experiences from your age?
I just had a recent experience.
Damn.
Niggas going through a lot right now. We still showing, we still positive, we still doing our thing right now. And we gotta take a lot.
Okay.
That's what's going on right now. My niggas still showing, they know what's going on.
Okay. So as I got in tune with you and shit, I got in tune with you because I see that you put like the Woo movement and shit like that. That was a big movement for me and shit like that because I got into the era and shit like 2010. That's when I really started listening to Brooklyn music, and the Woos was definitely the ones that put on and shit like that. So from like your perspective and shit, who is the Woo niggas doing it and shit like, and who did you see growing up from your hood and around your way that inspired you to rap or get into the shit?
That's easy, man. My son, Bleezy.
Definitely. One of the goats.
Millie B, my son, Millie B.O.D. Vindy Hayes.
Nah, that's a fact.
Like, feel me? It's names I can keep going off right now. Feel me? Them three right there.
They the goats.
Solidified this shit. Like, feel me, bro? K.I., don't forget him on, feel me, my cousin K.I., you feel me? Them three right there solidified it right there. Like,
oh, cousin, like actually blood cousin?
Yeah, that's my
oh, now that shit. My son K.I. that go hard.
All four of them right there, they solidified this shit. You feel me, bro? Like, it wasn't for that. Don't get me wrong, Kanasi doing anything over there.
Nah, that's a fact.
But it wasn't for them four right there. All the bullshit niggas don't never heard of it.
Nah, that's OD real. Like, I ain't even gonna front. Y'all came up with the Woo shit and shit, and then the Flossy niggas they let put on, but you have to mention Brownsville niggas when you talk about the Woo situation shit. Especially like if you from Brooklyn. For sure.
You got to.
Nah, that's a fact. You can't mention Woo without the Ville. That shit don't even make sense.
Niggas be thinking this a game. Woo's a gang, huh? No, it's not a game. It's not a game. Please stop saying that shit. It's not a game. It's not a game. Like, Y.A.W.A.H, it's not a game. You're not a game. We get money, bro. Like, it's a movement, bro. Like, what the fuck? You're not a game, bro. No, league class, that's a game. That's a fact. I hate when people do that. Woo is a game. You gotta be, this is a, like, no. It's just woo. You woo, you woo. You feel me, bro? Like, and a lot of niggas can't be woo. Like, you can't just be on woo. Nah, like, nah, bro. Like, you feel me, bro? Niggas know what's going on. Like, if you woo, you woo. You feel me? If you from over there, from over there.
Nah, that's some real shit. And you just touched on Y.A.W.A.H and shit. I've been hearing about that for a minute. So what's the meaning behind that shit? That's a pretty unique name.
What's the beat of Y.A.W.A.H?
Hey, yo, this shit, Younger Wild and Hustling, you heard? Younger Wild and Hustling, Y.A.W.A.H, you heard? Woo shit, we started that. Shout out to the full stroke.
Okay. So who came up with the Y.A.W.A.H term and shit like that, if you would have to say?
Full stroke.
Nah, do that to me.
Okay.
Turn it around. What you think about some
Facts.
Look, the Y.A.W.A.H, look. Shout out to the big Y.A.W.A.H, all Peter Cooster, man.
Facts.
Free Ringstar. Look, free Leak Blood. That's it, man. Free the big Y.A.W.A.H. Shout out Reef Blood. Niggas already know. Shout out the Y.A.W.A.H. That's it. Shout out Y.A.W.A.H, you heard? Shout out the Y.A.W.A.H, the real Y.A.W.A.H. Y.A.W.A.H be the game.
Box of the fucking grave. You know what's going on.
Okay. And as far as like with you being 20 and shit, you're pretty young. So like, who are the artists that you would view in like your age bracket that you would view that's really doing the shit? So like, who would you consider that's like in your lane and shit like that's really putting on that's from your age bracket? and BK?
I say like my niggas from my side. My son JD. My son Zan. It's names like it's mad rappers and brands with that rap. So it's like it's my age. That's going crazy. Niggas know like Kuda. You feel me?
That's a fact.
It's mad other rappers. You feel me? Like,
so other than the Ville and shit like that, what's the artist that you bumping and you rocking with their music and you in tune with them and shit?
oh, NBA.
Nah, that's a fact.
I ain't gonna front. NBA, I'm on his body. I don't give a fuck. That's my boy. I go, what?
Nah,
NBA. I ain't gonna front. I be bumping mad old music too.
Nah, that's a fact.
Biggie. Nah. You can ask my man. I come up here, I bump. For me, come up here, I'm bumping the old playlist of 90s. Shaq, you feel me? I be listening to 50 and I be bumping Nelly too on those. I be in tune, like niggas don't really bump my mind is everywhere, bro. Everywhere, like I bump a lot of shit. Like I'm telling you, that's why I be rapping as easy to I bump a lot of people.
Nah, that's real shit.
90s to 2000s, DMX.
Oh, nah, that's deep.
You feel me? Like I go crazy and I rap this shit, so my shit be everywhere.
Okay.
I be listening to that.
And what's some other artists from Brooklyn and shit outside of the Ville and shit? Like the Brooklyn drill artists outside of the Ville that you say that you fuck with their music and shit?
I don't know.
You don't got nobody going crazy right now in your eyes that you in tune with? Or you just with the Wu movement?
Like, no, Structures going crazy.
Nah, they putting on.
They going crazy. Shout out to Structures, they going crazy. Everybody else, I'm just fucking like they going.
Alright, respectable. So, which